Welcome to LPA Presents. I'm your host, Matthew D. Rhodes, and today I'm thrilled to introduce Stephanie, the founder of Books and Bounty. Stephanie's impressive journey spans journal production from STEM societies, scholarly content development, and digital publishing. Now she's channeling all that expertise into her very own venture, offering a full suite of services to authors and creators looking to bring their visions to life. Beyond the business, Steph is a proud Baltimore native, a UVA alum, and a self proclaimed foodie who finds joy in books, beaches, and maybe a little bit of the Real Housewives drama. Steph, it's a great pleasure to have you here today.
Hi, Matt. Everybody.
Let's dive in. What's it been like launching Books and Bounty and stepping into the role of both founder and agent?
It's been quite an adventure. Let's say this is something that I think in the back of my head, it's been pushing me there. I've been manifesting it, not in the best way, in the sense that um, being pushed into a position where I had enough time and space to create Books and Bounty came as a bit of a shock. It actually is a result of a layoff. But prior to that, for years, I had been telling anyone who want to listen, like, I want to do something on my own. Like, I want to get closer to authors. I want to do something that amplifies the diversity among readers and writers. And I wanted to, when they talk about walking in your purpose and passion, I felt like I was getting there, but I hadn't quite gotten there yet. And so it's been a whirlwind this last couple of months. The online virtual reading community and writing community has welcomed Books and Bounty with open arms. And if you've heard of anything about book talks in other places, you shouldn't be surprised. It's a great community, and like I said, it's been a whirlwind these past couple of months, but it's been so much fun.
What inspired you to start Books and Bounty, and how does it reflect your journey in publishing?
So, Books and Bounty, I'll give you a little bit of background about the name and the logo. Books, obviously, I've worked in publishing. I'm an avid reader. As you can see, this is a little bit of my TBR stack beside me for the month of November, and I wanted the inspiration behind the bounty part was twofold. One, the sort of cornucopia you get from reading, right?
Hmm.
Two, I have a lot of other bookish hobbies. I'm a gardener. Um, I collect little nicks and knacks. I'm really big collector of stickers. I journal. Um, and then as well as the bounty side of it's my partner, my fellow Raphael Lewis. He goes under Raph underscore Bayless. He's actually a gamer. He's in sports commentator. He's the next person on Books and Bounty that will have a regular show, but he also helps with not helps. He leads and directs AV here, and he has about 10 years of AV experience. So he also represents the bounty in Books and Bounty. And the third part of, because people always ask me, what's the bounty about? Is that bounty is also, if you look up the definition of it also is reference to kindness, and giving a warm experience. And so I try to create that through my show for Books and Bounty TV, through the Traveling Book Nook, and we create cozy, warm atmospheres. So the bounty part of it has a lot of meaning behind it.
Hmm.
And so I'm glad you asked that question. The logo, which is actually a well-worn book in native Maryland grasses. I'm from Maryland. We have marshlands here, and ornamental grasses grow throughout my garden and yard. So that actually sparked from a friend of mine. We were traveling. I have tattoos, and when I have go on a significant trip, I usually get a tattoo. And so, a bestie of mine, uh, he also got a well-worn book, and then an oak tree. He's from Virginia, so
Hmm.
that's the story behind Books and Bounty.
But Baltimore seems to be the central part of your story. How has the city influenced your work and vision?
Oh, it goes way back. Let's see. Well, Baltimore has been a place really that first allowed exposed me to what the world of worlds would be behind the scenes.
Hmm.
So I have to shout out to my mom. I think she followed you earlier.
Yes, she did.
Now, and uh, for exposing me to any and everything that had to do with the world of words. If I brought it to her, she was like, all right, we'll find a way to get you there. I wrote plays with Center Stage in Baltimore. Folks have heard me talk about my longtime mentor, Donnie Glover, who owns and runs BeMoreNews.com. I started out with an internship at the Empowerment Zone in Baltimore City through Baltimore Youth Works, which still goes on to this day. It's a program many cities and urban areas have them, where the city organizes and partners with businesses and entrepreneurs throughout the area to provide jobs for youth over the summer. And I interned with Donnie Glover as part of their communications department. Got my first published piece in Afro newspapers. Got to get on the radio and learn how to put together a show, right, and research a show, and many other things that Donnie and folks over there at the Empowerment Zone allowed a young Stephanie to expose herself to. And I think then is when I started to realize I didn't necessarily need the byline when it came to writing. And so Baltimore really was my first hub. And then from the library, Enoch Pratt Library is a tremendous impact on my life. I got to work under Dr. Carla Hayden, who's actually now the Librarian of Congress, during my time at Enoch Pratt Library. And seeing someone, such a bookish person, drive home a mission that I could see impacted me and my neighbors in my community every day, really let me show how the bookish business, could change community. And so Baltimore, and now back home again, I think Baltimore is going through a bit of bookish renaissance. There are brick and mortar bookstores popping up all over the place in the city. I want to see a few more places in the county and surrounding areas, but it's really, really awesome to see. So bookish Baltimore all the way. If you're a bookish person, you guys are coming to the DMV area, hit me up in the DMs, let me know, and I'll be happy to, take you on a little bookish tour.
I have to wonder that this is going off away from the questioning that I had, but did you ever run into National Novel Writing Month when you were in college?
I did not participate in it. Of course, I've heard about it, but I did not participate in it.
Okay, yeah, I can tell you right now, where I live, trying to get it together doesn't seem to work. There's too many students in and out of the area and no real people to stay.
You got to try to keep fighting. It is hard dealing with students because they, there's a different cohort every few years. Because actually, I just started. I wish I could remember the name of them. I'll try to send it to you later, Matt. But there's just a program about writers in Baltimore City schools that I started following, and I'm interested in seeing how I can get involved with them. I myself, at one point soon, I really want to try to start some bookish organizations with Baltimore County Public Schools. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of bookish businesses, entrepreneurs within the city limits, but I'm trying to find that in the surrounding area too. You either have to go up to Philly or New York or down to DC or in the city proper itself here in Baltimore. But I would like to see, some of the surrounding areas too.
And see, I'm not really far from you. I'm in Morgantown, West Virginia.
Okay, not far at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you were talking to me about a culture shock at UVA. How did that shape your perspective?
Well, I'm a proud product of Baltimore City Public Schools. I graduated from Baltimore City College High School, Go Knights, and class of 04. Just coming up we just had the 20th year reunion. I was unable to make it, unfortunately, but hey, Knights. And so it was, everybody thinks, it's because, you're being around rich people. And I'm like, no, I don't necessarily come from money myself, but I come from a little something, and I've been exposed to all walks of life. But when I got to UVA, it was just a level of not only the 1%, but I'm going to say it point blank, just the level of racism that I had never been met before. Yeah. And the first time I was point blank called the N-word, the first time I was a witness to racial violence. Let's just say I was not surprised when a few years ago that neo-Nazi movement popped off in Charlottesville. Yeah. A few of my fellow alumni seemed to be a bit shocked. I was like, dude, I think we all went to the same school, but I was not. And at the University of Virginia, because of that, it actually sparked a little bit of a movement in me when I joined the Black Student Alliance, and they were looking to start a newsletter. And I didn't want to start a newsletter. In high school, I had already been writing plays. I had already been like writing for national news organizations. I started, I did the little newsletter thing in middle school. Like, I'm like, no, this is a college. We had the Cavalier Daily, which is an awesome news organization down in Charlottesville. It's coming out of the UVA. I'm like, we can compete with them. I know we can. Like, we don't have, as Black students, being in that environment, the Black student community at UVA is very close knit. And I said, I have to do something more. And I'm trying to remember how I stumbled upon it, but I'm in the library as always. I worked for the library. That's where I did my work study. And I happened to find in archives what's called Pride Magazine. And Pride Magazine was a Black student organization, media organization that was started, I think, in the 80s. And just as we were talking about before we went live, we were talking about a moment ago, when it comes to dealing with students in cohorts, it ebbed and flowed with its publication. So I found Pride Magazine, and I said, oh no, we're bringing this back. And not only are we going to bring this back, we're going to make sure it has the money to continue after I go, right? I'm going to pass on the editor-in-chief position to someone I know who's going to work as hard as me. Shout out to Paula Rogo, who is now back home in Kenya doing her thing. Like, so you guys look up Paula Rogo. And so that was really the stuff that helped me there. And of course, I've made some wonderful, wonderful friends that are dear to my heart to this day. Pride Magazine, I wouldn't have had that purpose if I was not at UVA, right? I definitely think I would have had a different, probably more loving and nurturing student experience. I say if I went to an HBCU or even when I went to a college park, right? But there would not have been as much purpose in my mission elsewhere. And it was a riot. I mean, we were all with the living wage movement. We sat and did sit-ins and run-ins on the president's house. My mom was scared I was going to get put out and lose my scholarships. Oh, it was a hoot. And but it was a culture shock. And I'm not, people say, are you going to let your child, are you going to motivate your child to go to UVA? I don't think so. So I mean, but it's their journey.
Yeah, I know what it's like trying to start a club or anything on campus. Whenever I went to Tarrant County College in Texas, I was the one that had to write the charter and everything. So you can imagine how that one was.
And I think at UVA they're good. I forget what the name of it is, but the student organizations are sort of like subcontracted, non-affiliated legally with the school. So if like the student organization does something crazy, UVA is not getting sued. But it also gave us a lot of independence and like forced us into an entrepreneurial spirit. So I highly suggest, if there are any bookish folks out there in college right now, graduate school, who are looking to start news organizations at their university, especially if you are a minority or underrepresented student group, it's a great way to build community. But I highly say you have to be able to find funds and be able to continually, something that's going to be reoccurring that you can reapply for, and build those relationships with printers and other folks in your community that will buy ads and keep buying ads and want to sustain the organization. Because we are in a capitalist society. So, that is the main thing with student organizations, is ensuring that, for every 4 years, you still have a little bit of funds in the coffer to keep moving forward.
See, there was, excuse me, I had an issue with the writing community on campus. I was wanting to do a book signing, and they sent me back and forth between one particular location because they kept saying, no, you got to go talk to them. And by the time I was able to get back to them and said, this is what they said, oh, it's time to wind down because the end of semester.
It's a bureaucracy, it happens.
Yeah, and I had more fun in the film club, the filmmaking club, than I did in the writers club. It was there that it was in the film club that I was challenged to write screenplays.
Yes. As I talk with more writers, and it's a lot of them, I mean, they're writers or storytellers, right? That is what you are at heart. And a lot of you have stories that could turn into screenplays, or you have some idea that this story needs to be visual, right?
Yeah.
Um, I am in the Books and Bounty TV series right now up until mid-December. We're focusing on graphic novels. You see a few here. And I highly suggest, like, if you're not ready to make that whole jump to film, but you think that your story needs something visual, hook up with a graphic artist.
Yeah.
Put something together, right? Do a graphic novel. There are some of the books that I've read that I have even noticed now that I'm learning more about graphic novels. I'm saying, oh, that book should have been a graphic novel. I'm like, oh, that maybe this should be a movie, or I can see like the sitcom forming out of this. I'm like, no, it could also. I think it probably would have been done better as a graphic
Yeah.
novel than it would have as a traditional novel. So, if you're not ready for, especially self-publishing authors out there, if you're not ready to make that full leap to screenplay writing, you don't have the funders, the crew, or the know-withal to even get that far to write and to produce a movie. Hook up with an artist, hook up with a cartoonist, and see what you can come up with. I think it would be a wonderful experience.
Actually, I can say, as a screenwriter and novelist, being able to adapt from the book to film is
Mm-hmm.
not that hard, because once you're done with the script, you're not completely done. You don't have to go and look for someone to pick it up. If you put it in competitions like I have, gain some notoriety in the different circles, people are bound to say, hey, let's do this.
And we were talking about that, about writing, and even with movies now, and with the onset of internet and technology and social media, everybody can have that sort of leap model that a lot of artists have had over the last few decades, right?
Mhm.
You get out, put your stuff out there, you gain traction, you get a fan base, you understand your target audience, and then someone comes along with the big checks, they sign you and said, hey, I want to pick you up. Hey, I'm a publisher, I want to pick you up. Hey, I'm a film studio. Here's Paramount knocking at the door, right?
Mhm.
And I think that, like you said, putting yourself out there is a first step. What are some of those competitions and programs that you got your foot in the door with, Matt?
Uh, Big Apple Film Festival. I
Hmm.
ended up being honorable mention in that one, and just being able to be selected for these competitions is a feat in and of itself.
Hmm.
So people always say, "Oh, you just made it past selection." That's hard.
Yeah.
You don't just make it. You have to be selected to even participate,
Yep.
even if you're paying to get into the competition.
Definitely. I mean, you're paying to get in competition because folks, the organization has to keep the lights on, but ultimately you're competing with, hundreds, maybe thousands of other people who have paid the same fee. And you only have a few amount of slots that can actually be viewed. So there are a few and for writers out there, there are other contests like that. Uh, Raphael, he just let me know about, I think it's called 48-hour film contest. It's
Hmm.
about, you've heard of that one, where
Yeah.
given a topic and then you have to go make a short about it, maybe like I think it's 7 minutes long.
Yes.
So there's similar activities for writers out there, contests. Just put yourself out there, get your work known, um, and really, get that fan base behind you. One of the authors we had on Books and Bounty, Tessa Stone, I myself am not a romance reader, but I am a fan of dark fiction. And luckily, her book, Taming Kane, she actually now has a full series out. And this young lady did not start writing in full, like until early, the book came out earlier this year. She
Hmm.
didn't start writing it properly, I think, until late last year. It's just been rapid fire for her, right?
Yeah.
But she got into a writer's program and she just started putting her work out there. She's built her fan base, and her fan base is now doing the job of her marketing, doing the
Yes.
job of getting herself out there. She's millions of pages on Amazon. So I said, I have to see what this young lady is about. And I think that's what it is. It's building up that community and activating it when you need it.
Yeah. I've got a fan base right now who works in the trucking industry. So he's been telling every trucker about my work. And since I do audiobooks with my work,
See?
they want to eat it up.
Eat it up, right? I think Tessa just got an audiobook. I tell other folks, I said, if you can get an audiobook out there, try to get it done, because I myself am not an audiobook person, because
Mhm.
I hear the voices as I read, and I can't. It just The
Right.
voice I'm hearing is not the voice in my head. It messes us up. It's very distracting. But for some people, it's great. I have a friend who is an obstetrician, and a senior leader in her field, and that's one of the only ways. And she likes to read, but that's only one of the only ways she can find time to consume literature now. And kudos to her for still making the time for it. But audiobooks, man, they're taking off. Because
Yeah.
people are busy and they want to keep it moving. They feel like their attention spans aren't there, but and we'll talk about audiobooks another time. We have to come back.
See,
I want to have a moment about that.
yeah, I have audiobooks. The problem is I even then I don't have the ability to focus on them. I'd rather actually read it straight from the source.
Same here. That's the best way I can get absorbed in the book, and I think it's the better way for it to stick with me,
Mm-hmm.
than audiobooks. I've actually never been able to get through an entire audiobook except for when I went on a cross country road trip with my little cousin, and we just needed something.
Now, your family seems deeply involved in Books and Bounty. What is it like balancing business with such close personal relationships?
It can get hard because if the fella and I are having an off day, he still got to come be Books and Bounty Tech. I have a teenager that wants to help out and has a lot of talent and knows everything, but they're still a teen.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, no, mom hat is not on right now. Books and Bounty CEO's hat is on right now. You have to get this done. So
Yeah.
um, it's I think it's weighing that, but also as any business owner will let you know, you work all the time. And my family is very much used to having me available, because I have built a career in publishing. I am a mom first always. And throughout my career, I've had the opportunities. I've never had to go into the office every day out of the week. I think I did that for a little bit actually when I worked for a library, but I was like, oh, please let me go. I need to run there. But um, so I've always been very available to Jaden, you know, whenever they needed me to be available. But they're older now. They are about to get their driver's license. They have their own things going on. And I think it was about a good time for me to make that pivot in my life. So it's a struggle. And I try not to do Books and Bounty 24/7. Um, try not to stay on social media. I'm always
Yeah.
checking. One thing, I'm I'm coming from directly from digital publishing. So I've been a product manager and technical product manager for the last 6 or 7 years. And so I'm a data freak. I'm reading the numbers. Today, there was a TikTok session on the creator search tool on
Hmm.
TikTok. I'm eating it up, right? And
Yeah.
so I got to put the phone down. Like, I literally will go put my phone in the basement so I can, like, not even think about it for a while. But so it's finding that balance, I say, has probably been the most difficult part of it. But I'm happy to have a supportive family and friends in my life.
Yeah. Well, even as a writer, it's hard to compartmentalize because if you're
Mhm.
not writing, you got to play the social media game.
Yep. Yep.
Otherwise, you're not going to get out there because of the algorithms.
Oh no, no. You have to play the games. You have to figure it out. And like I said, that word of mouth and getting folks to share your content is the best way to build that growth.
Books and Bounty has only been live for 2 months. What's been the most exciting part of this new venture so far?
Well, overall, just the acceptance around Books and Bounty and people wanting to be a part of Books and Bounty, even though it's new. But I guess that also has to do with, I have been in publishing for a while, but um, that was really exciting to me in a bit. But also, I got to fangirl out a bit at my first actual live streaming event that was mobile. Baltimore Book Festival came back this year. It was in the Waverly neighborhood. I think it was a great choice. Baltimore Office, Promotion of the Arts, and City Lit Project here in Baltimore to pick Waverly neighborhood. It's a very kitsy, very, we have carry out stores right next to like chocolatier artisan shops. And
Mm.
like the hood is right there next to a highly liberal leaning activist bookstore. So it's a wonderful neighborhood. And while I was there, I'm nervous as heck, but I'm like, I just got to put myself out there. I've been behind the desk too long. Let's go. So I just gather my equipment and I go. And guess who I get to meet?
Who?
Mary Edom, who I don't know if you know her, but she's in charge of Well Read Black Girl. Is a published author herself. She just published on October 29th her latest book, which is Gather Me. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually memoirs told through the stories of books and novels that have influenced the most in her life. And she started with an online community, started turning into a book club, which turned into something even greater. And now she's running book festivals and conferences every year through the Well Read Black Girl organization. And so meeting her and hearing her words of encouragement and just that day in general, because she was in conversation with a former colleague of mine, Leslie Gray Streeter at the Baltimore Banner. Right after that, I stayed around for a session that was a representatives from different women's writers collectives and women's indie publishing. And that was very inspirational because it was all about having the audacity to just go out and put yourself out there, and get the work done and do the work for the culture. It was very inspirational. I'm so glad I got up the gumption to just go out with my iPad and my little tripod and just ask, can I please, go live from your event and that kind of thing. And people are just excited, like that other people want to broadcast and amplify what they're doing. So that was fun. It was my first live event. I got to meet someone who's very famous in my world. Lori is an awesome. She has a very warm heart. I just missed her. She was actually on tour. She was at the Enoch Pratt Free Library yesterday evening, but my show is Tuesday night, so I wasn't able to see her. But so I think that was probably the most exciting experience and unexpected so far. But then just finding all the people that are just so into books, like Black women, especially Black women like me who like science fiction, who like dark fiction, who like a little bit of the nerdy, blurty stuff, right? There's so many of us. And I'm like, we don't talk to each other. Like, I was in the mall the other day and I'm just walking around. I have a Books and Bounty t-shirt. And this Black lady walks up to me. She comes from behind the counter and almost runs after me. She's like, what is that? And I tell her, and she's like, wait. So like, I'm like, yes, go online, search the book tags. Like you will find Black women who read books everywhere. And so it's just been fun building that new networking community of other women and people of color who are in the bookish world. From people who make, mugs and sweatshirts with bookish sayings and things on that. From there is a bookshop owner who produces journals, wood press and wood cutting here, Drama Mama Bookshop. They're people who are bookmark makers, and just how the community grows has grown for me, and it's continued. The circumference of that network continues to grow. It's just been a great.
There's not much of a removed step to go from being a reader into being a writer.
Well, and every great writer is an avid reader. So
right. I mean, when I first started actually reading novels, I was in 5th grade reading Michael Crichton.
Okay.
So it wasn't even about a year or so later. No, was it? Well, I was in junior high whenever I was introduced to actually writing short stories instead of just reading them. And from there, it's just like, I gotta write. I want to entertain people and show them things that they have not seen before.
And I think that probably is in every writer's sphere, and it's probably a thread that runs through all of them. And I put myself in that because mine was 9, and they say when do you realize like your moment of consciousness? It was before then, right? That's not my earliest memory, but it was the first time where I had read a book and it impacted me in the way where I said, if I can make anyone, particularly, I don't know why, I'm at 8 years old and I'm thinking about this, and I'm sitting at my little desk. I have a white desk now, and I'm sitting at my little white desk back then, and I'm like, if I can make another little girl feel like this story just made me feel, then this is definitely what I need to do with my life. And that book was Roald Dahl's Matilda. And Roald Dahl has a shelf with my other #1 author, which is Toni Morrison.
Hmm.
And those are my top two. I'm not going to say which one I like more. And people, as a Black woman, people find it surprising that I am infatuated with the work of Roald Dahl. Um, we'll get into the, controversy about him, his life, and his politics, but his stories are amazing, and his dark fiction for children like is so cool. Like you talk about the movies like Shrek and other ones, Toy Story, where they have grown-ups like them too, have the jokes that kids won't get.
Hmm.
Raoul Dahl, I read him now and I'm like, oh, that's what you meant. So yeah, those two are my top. And from that, as an editor, as someone who works on the editorial boards, works with the subject matter experts, uh, I know that I can have just as much impact on that little girl by making sure that story is told and well done.
Hmm.
As well as you mentioned earlier in the show, my publishing background started in science, medical, and scholarly research. So I worked for Walter's Core and other folks who publish periodicals and journals for research and societal organizations. And even then, even as a product manager for education, digital education resources, it's about like making sure that my voice and voices of those who look like me are shown and
Hmm.
displayed in that work, right?
Yeah.
For nursing products, nursing textbooks and resources, like making sure that the hair is right, that if we're in a virtual simulation of a clinic, that the people are looking right, that they're men represented in the nursing textbooks, right?
Hmm.
So I think that has been my entire mission, whether I am, freelancing on a report where I'm helping edit those writers where English is not their first language,
Hmm.
if I'm doing something more scholarly, or if I'm doing work in amplifying a women's writer or voice through a fiction story. That thread is, that theme for me runs through all of my work. It's about being that voice uh, that is traditionally underrepresented or undervalued, especially behind the scenes. And that's ultimately my mission. I ain't gonna say that I ain't going, write here, there, and there. I'm a heavy journaler. And I am writing now, like through booksandbounty.com. We have our blog up there. I post book reviews. I give full recaps of the live stream. It's the only place on booksandbounty.com where you can get all the links to references and recommendations that you heard on the show.
Hmm.
Um, so I am getting to write there, and that has been really, really fun putting the writer's hat back on that way. But I love being behind the scenes. It's where I really love, deadline driven environments. Writers don't. And having that outlook and be able to say, okay, this is your first book, but where are we going to go next? Did you think about this? What's your backlog look like? Like, so it's been a great ride.
But speaking of the transition from scholarly publishing to digital product management, how did those experiences prepare you for Books and Bounty?
Well, it allowed me to be able to tackle Books and Bounty from all aspects. As I remember, like I just told you, it really let me nerd out over data and technology and integrations. And that has come in handy. One, self-publishing authors, bookish entrepreneurs. One thing that I have found, and you'll see this in some of the highlights on Books and Bounty, but even when I'm just talking to authors, the folks who have I would say the quickest success. I'm not going to say the most success, but
Hmm.
probably the quickest success and less stress when it comes to go to market are folks who have done that research ahead of time.
Yeah.
And that's what product management has taught me about developing a book from that point of view, from that sort of agile point of view, an iterative point of view, where you have to focus on the data and preparation around it first.
Hmm.
Find out what your target audience is. For example, like I was saying with one of the previous authors, she knew she wanted to write. She had an idea of a kind of story, but then she found this niche in dark paranormal romance
Hmm.
that could really trend and help her spark. She was like, okay, so my first story is going to be in that. I may not always write in that, but that's how Stone is going to get known, right?
Right.
And not that is, I think that is a more business mindset when it comes to writing, and not all writers are like that. I'm not encouraging all writers to take that
No.
path at all. But what I will say is that, again, understanding your market and research, understanding where, if I have a book about grass and an ant, right? we're the folks, like, I don't need to just be looking at books, people that read. I need to be looking at, biologists and people who garden and other folks who probably would be interested in this story. So I think that's the biggest advice I would give, and that I've learned from digital publishing, is the research that goes in before, after, and during. And then the second thing is the integrations and technology behind the scenes. Having the learning curve to put up the website, have it connect to all the social media, have things automatically run for me. Those are all things that I learned in product management. So it's really helped, I think, that learning curve when it came to the technology.
I have to counter some of this because as a writer myself, when I'm writing something that I want to read. If someone else wants to read it, all the better. But I'm not going to go out and write something that everybody wants to read because it may not come out the way they want to read it, and it's going to flop.
Hmm. You're right about that. And also, writing is always a passion project. And
Hmm.
I think everybody has a story in them. Some people need a heavier edited hand than others.
Hmm.
But um, write the story that's in you. But I think it's also, you can't be naive about the business of writing, right?
Right.
If you want it to be something that actually makes you money. And I think that that's the main thing and it's not, like I said, it's not that formula that I just mentioned about finding your niche and then writing that story. I
Right.
don't encourage that all the time,
No.
but um and even with this author, it wasn't like it was far off, like I'm just creating a story out, but she knew she wanted to write romance, but romance is so saturated, right?
Yes.
And so how do I get my foot in the door? And so I think it's a give and take of both. We are as It's a double-edged sword, the internet, as always, because it means that, yes, it makes it easier for me to publish it, but it also means that everybody can do it.
Right.
And the competition can be steep. It also can be murky. You gotta weed
And
through it a bit.
that
So
that's where having an agent or having
yeah,
the
we talked
financial
about that.
backing of self-publishing, you have to advertise.
Yep, you have to advertise. Even me,
And
like, understanding what to boost, what not to boost, where to spend certain funds, how to make it, most economical for us. Because, like I said, we're just 2 months in. We're family owned and operated, and we're trying to get those contracts in the door. But so you have to think about that give and take.
I've advertised to hundreds of thousands of people before. I've put money into it. How many books do you think I sold from that?
Hmm. By the tone of your voice, I don't know if you were that impressed by the numbers.
Zero.
So what would you suggest when it comes to how do you target marketing or advertisement for your books? For me, again, it's about doing things like you're doing here, Matt, like building up the community
Hmm.
around your writing, right?
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Not only build up a community around the writing, we do need fans and everything to watch the writers because right now it's just writers watching writers.
Right. So
But,
let's talk about that. Let's talk about book Twitch.
yeah, I mean, we'll get there. But, where you advertise also matters
Yeah.
because, you could advertise on Facebook. Not everyone's going to be interested. Unless, if you advertise on like uh, Amazon, more people would be interested. It's all based on where you want to advertise. You want to advertise on Google? Good luck.
And that's again the idea with the market research. Where's the audience that you're trying to reach? You got to meet them where they are.
Right. What challenges have you faced transitioning from freelancing to running a full-fledged publishing service?
I think it's for me, it's trying to focus.
Hmm.
Um, and understanding that starting small and growing is a way to help, like, it's, I guess it's the management of the ideas, right? And this is something, even with product management, I'm just saying that out loud, made me think of we used to have this saying about all the things, because there's always a new idea. There's always somebody who thinks it's going to get done better or done quickly or more efficiently. And with me, um, I have a lot of ideas for Books and Bounty. I think I've even mentioned some during this interview, and it's sort of being able to focus your energy as a small organization. And in addition to that, I want to be able to give my clients that sort of boutique customer service experience. So, as I get more clients, I probably will not be as active in social media, or I will have to relinquish a lot of those duties to, the team, or get an intern or someone else to help out, right?
Mhm.
Um, so, and I was actually talking to Jaleesa Whitley, who runs Book Trips, and she is 3 years into her business, and she has finally reached a moment of pivotal new growth, and actually got into a business accelerator to help her prepare for that, right? And
Mhm.
so for me, I'm partnering with folks like my mentor, Donnie Glover, like Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. He runs J&F Enterprises. He also has a few published books out to really help me focus my energy on the business of Books and Bounty, right? Like, these are the
Mhm.
things, the projects that you need to be, when it comes to leads and clients, yes, but where else do you need to focus on Books and Bounty as a business, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably been the hardest part, is I have all these great big ideas, but what can I focus on with the resources that I have now?
How do you envision Books and Bounty evolving in the next 5 years?
Oh, well, let's see, 5 years. I hope to have partnered with plenty of writers and writers collectives, and helping them get their work out the door. I have something that I really want to take off is it's called the Traveling Book Nook. We
Mhm.
had one occasion early this year at the Black Wall Street Expo here in Baltimore, where I create a cozy little corner and have work on display from various authors, bookish products. You can buy them there. I had QR codes for folks that wanted to order books online. And we
Mhm.
also had an author there signing and selling books. And this is something that I envision traveling from conference to expo, even private affairs. I can imagine a bookish person wanting them at their wedding reception, or at their birthday, or something like that. And I really would. I think when it comes, as you know, Books and Bounty, one of our not one of our mottos is curated bookish things, people, and events. And that's really the most fun I have with Books and Bounties, when I get to curate a show or curate a book nook. And I really would like to see that take off. And I really would like Books and Bounty to just be a name in the publishing world, as that sort of, if you need that extra boost to get out the door, then
Mhm.
Books and Bounty is your go-to. I do not see myself necessarily becoming a full-blown publisher, right?
Yeah.
Um, there's an organization that has a similar model here in Baltimore, Silent Books Publishing, where they called themselves a self-publishing partnership. That's more of the model I want to go on. I don't need Books and Bounty to be copyrighted in your book. Like, I want you to have all the license and permissions and rights to your work that you want to have. I
Mhm.
just want to help. I just want to be a part of that journey with you. Yeah, pay me to edit your book. Let's work together and sign some agreements to help me represent you and get your name out there, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm all for that power, and I am well versed in contracting and acquisitions.
Mhm.
But I want that power to stay with the writers as much as possible until they may want to eventually get signed to a bigger publisher. But if that's their goal, is to remain self-publishing, to remain independent, I don't want to harp on that at all. And even with writers collectives, self-publishing authors, independent booksellers, it's really, what I want to do is be able to programmatically tell your story. So if you're one of my clients, I'm not just doing your copywriting for you, right? If that's what you hired me to do, I want to talk about you on Books and Bounty. I want to talk about you on the website. I want to bring you on the show. If you're an author that are editing with me, or that I'm your literary agent, you're going to get the full Books and Bounty treatment, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that was probably one of my distinction, for me, is that I really want to be able to give that boutique experience, and that sort of programmatic package that Books and Bounty would like to offer.
Yeah. Excuse me. What do you see that is the biggest misconception writers have about getting represented by an agent?
Let's see. I think. a little bit because of what I mentioned earlier, that sort of YouTube model mentality that you don't need one.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you why it's a good idea to have one. You want to focus on your art and your creativity, the negotiations and the behind the scenes, the networking, the planning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
as a literary agent, I want to be someone who not only, you're signed and that's it. No, like what do we need to do? Events do we need to make you a part of to lead up to that? Like where do
Right.
we can part of this be sent out as a short story in literary magazines? Like how I'm working for you that way as well, not just when it comes to what's going on in the boardroom or in the meeting on the conference call. And it's a lot of work and it's a lot of focus where you could be writing
Yeah.
and, or editing or getting out in front of your fans and audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the main thing, that if that is ultimately your goal, to get signed by Penguin Random House or Beacon Press or University Press, right, or some other scholarly publisher,
Mm-hmm.
an agent will help do that work for you, be that foot soldier for you, be that advocate on your behalf. And so I think that's one of the main misconceptions, but that's not everybody's goal, right?
No.
Some people want to grow and remain independent. And I think, but if that is your goal, to get signed with a mainstream publishing house, I highly suggest that you find a literary agent to help fight that battle for you.
And see, I've actually had someone on the podcast before. He's very well known in the thriller community. Armand Rosamilia. He said he gave up having agents because he was not thrilled with the way that they were trying to handle things, and he switched to self-publishing.
And that he's had a horrible like, as plainly as it put, he seems like he had a horrible customer service experience, or an agency that had too many clients under their belt. A lot of folks are more familiar with an AR representative or a publicist or something like that works at a big agency house or a music label.
Hmm.
And same thing, you're not getting the attention you deserve because either the agency is pulled too thin or they're on to the next new big thing. And
Right.
you're the old artist, you're last year's news. And I don't, and that's why I said with Books and Bounty, it really is about building that boutique experience for our clients.
Hmm.
And right now that we're small, like I want folks that want to grow with me, right? That
Yeah.
we are on this journey together and that I'm fighting for you because this is going to be a fight to get Books and Bounty out there as well. And as a new person in the game, you understand that everything that I put forward is going to be my best effort because it has to be for Books and Bounty's sake.
Yeah.
And so I think, and it also sounds like your friend had already been in the game for a while. He had already had some work
Yeah.
published out there. He'd been signed before with publishing houses. So he knew what, how to roll and already had the network to activate. But I highly suggest you, if you're a new author, even if you have a small fan base, but you're trying to get signed to a larger publishing house, I do think it's worthy looking at agents. And just like you would any other person that you're hiring for something that you do, and it's going to take your money, interview, right? If you don't like them, fire them. Like the contracts have termination terms, use them. And so that's what I suggest. Yes, if you want to get signed by a larger publishing house, I do recommend a literary agent, and to maybe have one, even if you're a self-publishing author, in the back pocket to call on every now and then, because like the work and effort, at least the work and effort that I would put into my clients,
Hmm.
that's like having a part-time job for them where they can be doing something else.
And see, there's a major issue with some authors who, I know everyone wants to get an agent at some point. But if you're in a position like mine and you're on a fixed income, you can't just put money into an agent and there's no agent willing to accept a contract of taking a percentage. No one wants, everyone wants paid up front.
That's me. I'm a percentage agency right
Oh, you're a
now.
percentage agent?
I'm a percentage agent. You don't get paid, so I get paid, honey. Now, a lot of times, a couple of folks that I'm working with and a few potential clients, they're not just coming to me for the agency part. And the
Hmm.
agency part is actually something that sort of fell into my lap. And I will be honest with you, I am not going to have many clients as agents.
Right.
It's going to be more of the professional services and consultation part, because I want to be able to give that one-on-one and dedicated experience. But hey, if folks come, and that just means I got to hire somebody, and I don't mind doing that either. But for me, I'm a percentage agent, because I'm new. And I want, again, like I said, I want this to be a partnership with my clients. If they don't do well, I'm not going to do well, and that's going to make me work harder for them. Now, editorial professional services, that's a whole nother ball game. That so, but when it comes to the agency agreements that I want to build and relationships that I want to build, it's a percentage.
Yeah, it's like, with my work, I want to advertise. My best bet is word of mouth. It does not work like it used to, but also at the same time, being able to sit for an interview with any agent, I wouldn't call them agencies, but anybody who has a following, being able to sit and talk about my books with people, get them interested in wanting to read it, it works just as well if you're on a budget. It's just finding that person that's willing to actually interview you.
Yep, exactly.
Now, you mentioned writers could follow the YouTube model of self-publishing. What steps would you recommend for someone just starting?
Oh, let's see. So I would say, because I want to give, keep in mind that many independent writers, authors, like you said, budgets are what they are. And I would say pick a platform. TikTok is huge right now with book folks and readers and writers. And it's a great way to build a following fast, although TikTok is controversial. I don't even know if we're going to have it forever. TikTok, Instagram, pick a platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
Grow a following.
Yes.
And I would also suggest, if there are literary organizations, journals, magazines in your area, sample your work. Write a short story. If you have a novel, get a short story out of it. Pick a chapter to submit, right? Start winning some prizes, or even just the submission process of having the folks that are on the panel of the judging committee read your work and know your name. Get it done, and I think that's what I mean by the YouTube model, is that you are trying to get your work out there in front of as many eyes as possible, and trust and believe it's going to stick with a lot of them. And I think that's what I mean by the YouTube model, because because musicians nowadays, it's not like, I can't remember where I heard this from, but they were talking about there's no development with music artists anymore. Like, you have to come ready, right?
Yeah.
And I think same thing with publishing. Like, everybody can be a writer now, so you got to come ready. You got to have that following. You have to have some things already published somewhere. If ultimately that is your goal, to get picked up by a larger wheelhouse. And even if you're just starting out as a self-publisher, those still would be the beginning steps that I would take. Pick a platform, grow your following, and then that following will follow you to other platforms and places.
Now, certain agencies are still viable, but you actually have a lot of publishers moving to bring out the self-publishing models. They think they can make more money by charging people to publish their books.
Yes. So that and I think you're talking about if a larger publisher basically said, if you want to use us, like, they license their trademark. It's almost like just license. You're paid for them to put a stamp. Sometimes you're paying for them to actually print or do the marketing for you. And I mean, if you're already coming with a little bit of money and change, I guess you could go that route. I was this self-publishing author that was at the Baltimore Book Festival. I actually have his books. I don't really want to give him a shout out, but I do want to give him a shout out because I don't think he needs me to that point. We're here. I don't know if, I'm sorry, guys can hear my dogs in the background. I have two dogs. I have a boxer mix who's an old lady. She's 10. And then I have a 4-year-old American Staffordshire Terrier. So, see, there's my love. But I lost my train of thought there, Matt. So we were just talking about
we were talking about publications trying to push the self-publishing angle in order to get more money.
Yeah. So everybody doesn't have the money to do that. It literally is, you're paying for their trademark. You may pay for like some marketing or something from them,
Right.
but you don't have that personal experience. And so it was this author at the Baltimore Book Festival. I won't say any names right now because what I'm not about to say is probably not as kind. And I'm walking through all these diverse authors. There's queer authors. There's so many undervalued and underrepresented stories, just really working hard to get their books and their work out there. And I turn the corner, and it's this last booth. It's a Black woman who's working the booth and like passing out the materials. It's this huge affair, this huge tent, full color everything. It's a tote bag that comes with, he's giving away 3 of his hardback books for free
Mm-hmm.
in a tote bag. I'm like, I don't know any author who can afford to do this. And that's what I mean. Like, I don't need to push his name out there. He got enough engine behind
Right.
him. He's the type of person that could pay, to be a part of one of those licensing programs. But
Right.
that's who not, that person doesn't need me. Right.
Right.
And those are the type of people that could probably afford to get in the door that way.
Yeah.
But it's not too many. It's not too many. If
No.
the struggling artist is a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, one thing people need to realize, if you're trying to get into any profession for the money, you're going in for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to art. That is antithesis to what art is.
Right.
Then you just have propaganda.
Now, another thing that we were discussing was the YouTube model, and there's a problem with that angle a little bit because there's the algorithm. Unless you're posting hourly or daily, you're not going to get in the algorithm. So you might as well ask your friend, "Can you post for me?"
Mm-hmm.
Have your own little media manager. If start with someone who's willing to work, who knows you, and then start paying them once you can afford it.
Yep, and I totally agree with that. Any sort of support you can build within your own little network, to help you as your own bookish business as an author, right? Because you
Hmm.
are building your own book business as yourself. Um, then yes, have them hop on board. There's talent all around us. I was just telling you a story about how my teenager is a gamer, right? And I'm like,
Hmm.
I want to, they wanted a custom build. And so I got a coworker of mine who's a developer to help me custom build a computer.
Right.
And so it's activating that network. So it's the YouTube model, like that virtual model, but it's also, writers also can be recluse, right? Even me, like I am most comfortable behind my desk in this chair. But we have to get out there. You have to
Hmm.
show up to the book fair, show up to the festivals, show up to the night markets, talk about your work, have a little business card, even, linking to your website or your portfolio or your Webtoon site, and let people know about your work and what you do. Because it's not always going to be the avid reader that may tune in. It's going to be the person who has a similar interest. And you can go up to somebody and you start talking to them about the movies, and then you say, "Oh yeah, well my story is also a horror," and they're like, "Oh really? I didn't think about and let me go pick it up, and it may be the first book they read in 5-10 years." So I think it's, yes, that YouTube virtual model, because it's the age and day that we live in. But that one-on-one quality experience, especially as an artist, as a writer and creator, is par to none. And that is what actually has been one of the major joys of Books and Bounty, is that it's forcing me to get out into the community, to go to these literary events and cultural events and meet new people, and get the word out that way as well. So, the virtual reader is where the numbers are when it comes to audience and growth and things like that. But word of mouth, getting in front of folks, having other writers and authors know your work face to face is invaluable.
And of course, there's not everyone can get out to those events and everything like me, but there are online places that you can go.
Yes, I'm actually a part of a few book clubs. You'll see actually here, the Zora Neale Hurston Trust. That's actually, if you wanted to, like, they not only are they the sort of watchdog for the Zora Neale Hurston estate and things of that, but the Zora Neale Hurston Trust, actually, if you want to have any licensing for Zora Neale Hurston, her likeness, her work, or something, that's who you reach out to. And shout out to Ray, who runs the organization. They're on Instagram, Zora Neale Hurston Trust, but they have an online book club that just started this year. And I was part of the first one. I didn't go to the second one, but the third one is this book by Zora Neale Hurston. It is Moses, Man of the Mountain. And that was one of the first book clubs that I joined. I also joined a silent reading meetup. That's in person, but it has grown my online community by meeting in person. So there's tons of virtual book clubs, virtual communities. Discord, oh, Discord communities for bookworms and writers and readers is so freaking awesome. That was actually when I talked about earlier about focusing on your platforms. That's one of the platforms that I'm trying to build up because I know I have to be in that world, right? And Discord is a behemoth of a platform. It is a learning curve that I have not gotten there yet. But so yes, you're right, Matt. Tons of virtual community that you can build.
Now, I did have a few other questions to ask, but I had to start deleting them. We are just about out of time.
Okay.
But one of the things we were mentioning earlier was the writing and reading community on Twitch needs your help. Everybody, you know, sure, Books and Bounty is working on multi-platforms, and she just started on Twitch recently, but she needs your help. We need your help. We want to get out there to where it's not just writers watching writers.
Yes.
You know, we want to see the reading community actually be a little proactive and get to meet other writers. You know, talk with them, get behind their thoughts and ideas. You know, see what they're working on.
Yes, and writers, bring your fans to Twitch. If you are already an active social media writer or artist, the writing and reading category on Twitch, Matt and others that are part of the Twitch community have worked diligently to make the writing and reading a formal creative category on Twitch. And I'm super, super honored and proud to be one of the creators consistently making content and helping to build the category. And just as Matt said, there are so many writers, there are editors, there are folks like me who are behind the scenes, giving you insight behind the scenes. Lions Pride Studio streams 24/7. You can see Matt writing. There's another book twitcher, Coffee Quills, who develop a writing accountability game for the words. So many folks that we met, Cypher Robinson. I can go down the whole kinds of names right now. And but like Matt said, we need readers. We need readers there. And it's so cool, guys. You can see people writing right then live for you, editing live on screen. You get to get feedback. Authors, this is a great way. If you want to do a sort of research study around your work, why not have you can have like 2,000 ARC readers at one time, right? Like reading your work and giving you feedback live. And so screenwriters, playwriters, talk about getting feedback or having a live reading of your screenplay ahead of time to get feedback. Imagine that. So yes, readers, come on over. Writers, as you come on over to Book Twitch, bring your readership with you. We really would love to have you.
And I'm going to reiterate everything on the way out, but thank you, Steph, for sharing your incredible journey with us today. It's inspiring to see someone so dedicated to empowering creators and pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to bring stories to life.
Thank you so much, Matt. It was a pleasure.
To everyone listening, let's rally behind Steph and her work with Books and Bounty. You can follow her on Twitch. Was it
Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube? Those are the main platforms. But above all else, you start your journey on booksandbounty.com, and that can take you wherever you need to go.
But, as she grows her vision, we're also growing ours with rare looks behind the scenes of writing and publishing. The writing and reading category on Twitch is a fantastic way to witness the hard work, creativity, and passion that go into crafting novels and stories. It's not just about the finished book, it's about the process, the triumphs, and the challenges along the way. Right now, the audience for this is mostly writers watching writers. We need readers, fans, and curious minds to join in. Writers need an audience who wants to see how the stories are built from the ground up. So if you're ever wondering what it's really like to create a novel, now's the time to dive in and explore this incredible community. Stay tuned for more conversations here on LPA Presents, where we'll keep bringing you insights from the people shaping the future of creativity and entertainment. Keep growing, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.